Hi folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, I wanted to share something with you that happened to me a week ago. I was fishing with my buddy Rust, and we'd gone to this little lake that always is a wonderful place for us to fish bass this time of the year. And we had some fabulous results on that lake. I wanted to share with you by video. I was using a fluke, and using a fluke is something so different. To make that fluke work, it'll dart back and forth in the water unbelievably. Every time you move the rod tip, it'll go in a different direction. But that wasn't the point. What I didn't tell you all about is the fact that one of my favorite baits that I've just fallen in love with is a Berkeley Max Scent little, I think it's called a Little General or a Little Trooper or something. It's a little miniature, like 3 or 4 inch worm that you Ned rig. And when I've used that worm a lot of times, actually I'm getting ahead of myself here, because the bait that I was using was little Max Scent imitation crayfish, and that has its own name that I can't think of right now. But the worm that I was using was an orange and brownish type of worm. Orange has always been one of my favorite colors. But when I put that on and threw it against the shoreline where we knew there were dozens of largemouth bass, Russ was throwing just a regular worm in and doing fantastic. But when I threw this little crayfish in, I couldn't get a strike. And it would amaze me that I think it was the color. They would not hit that crayfish. And there were tons of largemouth bass in that water, but they rejected it totally. And so sometimes, you know, I've gone on about how this is one of my favorite baits. Well, it sure didn't work that day. And I think we got to be aware of that no matter what we use, we think it's going to work all the time. Sometimes they don't. And we have to be prepared to change and go to something else. And on this day, that orange bait did not work. Now, maybe it was the color. Maybe it wasn't the fact that it was a crayfish imitator, because no matter whether there were tons of crayfish in that water, those fish, most fish have a hard time resisting a crayfish. There's certain baits that will always work, like a little imitation frog, crayfish, or hellgrammite, always seem to work no matter where you're fishing. And in this day, it didn't. It point blank didn't. And so I wanted to pass that on to you. It's another lesson that is worth learning. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.